Mr. McCaul.
On the recent confirmation. You know, you and I think, have seen this movie before. In 2014, when I was chairman of this committee and you were deputy secretary of DHS, Obama called the surge of migrants at the southern border a humanitarian crisis, and he was right. And today, we're seeing another surge at our southern border. We've both seen this movie before, and we know the plot, and we know the outcome. As chief of counterterrorism and national security for the U.S. Attorney in Texas, I learned that deterrence does work firsthand. In fact, Mr. Secretary, you were a federal prosecutor in a border state yourself. And I believe that words do matter. I know you mentioned that maybe the language doesn't matter. I think words do matter. I think you sent exactly the wrong message when you stated, quote, "We are not saying don't come. We are just saying don't come now." That is not a message of deterrence. The Trump administration, in my judgment, did a masterful job in negotiating the Remain in Mexico policy and the asylum cooperative agreements with Central America. It was actually a foreign policy achievement, and it worked. Migrants would have to wait in Mexico for their asylum trial, and the border was under control. However, with the stroke of a pen on Inauguration Day by President Biden, these policies have been suddenly reversed and canceled. Cartels and traffickers see that the green light is on at our southern border, and the United States is open for business again. Again, the message is, come on in. Just like that, catch and release has returned as a policy of this nation. And so, Mr. Secretary, has the threat. Migrants are given a date to appear in court and suddenly disappear. The children are the victims, and the cartels are celebrating this victory. Sir, with all due respect, this administration has created this crisis by rescinding these agreements. And just yesterday, you said, quote, "We are on pace to encounter more individuals on the southwest border than we have in the last 20 years. That is staggering. And I appreciate your honesty. I agree with you. It is going to be the most we've seen in 20 years. You may call that only a challenge, but I call that a crisis. So I must ask this question. Why in the world did this administration and President Biden basically shred the Trump administration's asylum agreements with Mexico and Central America? This administration's actions have had a direct cause and effect on this humanitarian and border crisis. What was this administration and the president thinking?
Congressman, it's nice to see you again, and I'm very proud of the work that we did together when I was the deputy secretary and you were the chairman of this very esteemed committee. Sometimes the tools of deterrence defy values and principles for which we all stand. And one of those tools of deterrence that the Trump administration employed was deplorable and absolutely unacceptable. And if we want to speak of language, then let me speak of language. I will share with you how I define a crisis. A crisis is when a nation is willing to rip a 9-year-old child out of the hands of his or her parent and separate that family to deter future migration. That, to me, is a humanitarian crisis. And what the president has committed to, and what I am committed to and execute, is to ensure that we have an immigration system that works and that migration to our country is safe, orderly, and humane. And I will share with you, if I may, Congressman.
I was against separation of families as well, but let me just say this. By rescinding these, I think, I'm now the Republican leader of the Foreign Affairs Committee, so I look at this also from a foreign policy standpoint. I think it was a blunder to rescind these agreements, which have created this exact problem and have put these children in jeopardy, and you're seeing the separation again. I think you know, what is happening down there, and you and I have been down there so many times, the kids, children, the babies down there, what a humanitarian crisis it is. I don't think it's a coincidence that on inaugural day, the president rescinded this foreign policy, and then all of a sudden, within February, we have hundreds of thousands of people coming in, and a projected million by the end of the year.
Congressman, let me, if I may, make 2 points. One, in fact, we have seen migration surges before. 2019 was extraordinary, 2014, and before then. And the bottom line is, and this is something about which we all agree, the immigration system is broken, and it is in need of legislative reform. And the president presented a bill, and there are bills pending before the House, and hopefully this year, and I am confident and optimistic that we will actually begin once and for all to fix a system that everyone agrees is broken.
Gentleman's time.
Make the Mexico policy again.
Gentleman's time has expired.